This is a reaction video to Penn State's 35-31 win over Purdue in yet another Big Ten road opener. Crazy game, a lot to be said about it. I'm going to jump right in. Usually what I do, to be honest with you, is if you're unfamiliar with my channel, I generally cover NFL content, but I usually talk about specific plays in the progression in which they happened and what my thoughts were at that time. So there could be some times where, what I note here is a thought that occurred in the middle of the second quarter that doesn't necessarily fit with the flow of the game. I'm going to talk about the end initially. The announcers talked about Sean Clifford, and the offense made great plays to get that game-winning touchdown. The game-winning drive was a great culminating play. Don't get me wrong. They were clutch, and Clifford deserved a lot of credit. Offense made the right calls late, but I think really missing a huge storyline here, and it's going to kind of be highlighted by this screen right here. Purdue scores 2 touchdowns in the third quarter at one point, the last of which I think helps them get a 24-21 lead. About a minute to go in the quarter. Check this out. The Penn State defense, particularly their DBs, something happened because Purdue's next 5 possessions, and you can see them, went like this. 3 plays, -9 yards, punt. 3 plays, 4 yards, punt. 6 plays, 4 yards, punt. 6 plays, 22 yards, punt. And then the final drive, 8 plays, 23 yards, punt. So if you add all that up, all told, and look, in between there, we know that there's the pick 6 by Clifford that helped Purdue take a 31-28 lead. So the flow of the game during these moments feels like, Purdue is still in control. But those last 5 possessions, ready for this? Purdue, 26 plays for 44 yards total. Just lights out in the second half. Well, lights out those last 5 possessions by Penn State's defense. I thought the DBs, the entire defense, just flipped a switch after that second offensive touchdown by Purdue. I'm not sure what changed other than more pressure being brought. Look, in case you don't know, if your first time watching something on my channel, I can't show video of the game because it's broadcast angle footage, so it's copyrighted. So I just show some pictures and talk about my thoughts, and the pictures will scroll through. It looked like there was more pressure that Manny Diaz brought after that second touchdown. It looked like Sutherland and some other DBs were blitzing more, like Johnny Dixon was there on a slot blitz for a sack one time. But those guys really went into lockdown mode. Joey Porter Jr., Kalen King made plays. Dixon, Daquan Hardy had some nice tackles in the second half and made a huge breakup on an open receiver on a 3rd and 6 with 2:35 left in the game. That preceded Penn State's game-winning drive, where Daquan Hardy, and look, they're beat. The defense is beat initially there. The receivers, I forget which receiver for Purdue it was that was open or targeted on that play. It wasn't Jones for once because he was targeted like 19 or 20 times. But Daquan Hardy doesn't make that play, doesn't make that hustle play, and Purdue probably gets a new set of downs and wins the game. The safeties were involved. Zaquie Wheatley with that forced fumble was fantastic. Keaton Ellis had some timely plays. Jair Brown. To me, this win is due to the entire roster. The credit, the entire up and down the roster guys made plays. And I think they overwhelmed Purdue eventually with their defensive depth, particularly at DB, even though Purdue has some great passing concepts. Obviously a great quarterback in O'Connell, great coach in terms of passing concepts. I think there are some things that they should rethink in some of their short yardage calls, and I'll get to that later. So that's just my initial thoughts about the game. I will go through my notes here, which is generally what I do, so it could make this video be 25-30 minutes long. I'm not sure what kind of content Penn State fans might be looking for, but this is generally what I do. And the pictures will scroll through many, many times. All right, so Penn State's first possession, they were in hurry-up mode, no huddle, obviously the whole game, but hurry-up, specifically 12 personnel. They only ran the bunch to the boundary that Jurkic likes a lot one time early. I only saw it like 3 or 4 times the whole game, trying to stretch the defense horizontally, but it just gives away their intention. I think it was the 2nd or 3rd play of that drive. It just gives away your intention. You're really kind of advertising, hey, we're going to run zone read here, or we're going to throw the screen over here to the boundary. I'm talking about that wide bunch where the 3 receivers are like 3 or 4 yards from the sideline. I'm just not a fan of it. I think it's one of the reasons, and I'll comment on this later, why the run game suffers so much there. Penn State got a little something going offensively on their second drive. They were rotating the backs, so Singleton, Allen, Lee, were all seemed to be rotating possessions. They had a nice third down conversion from Clifford to Washington out of a trips formation to the right against what looked like a zone by Purdue. Looked like early on Purdue was in like a 5-1 with a strong safety rolled up to the tight end side versus any 11 personnel that Penn State presented. A great job by Purdue mid-first quarter. Missed opportunity by the Penn State defense there. Porter had a near pick six on the second play of Purdue's second drive. It was an out by number 2 and a vertical by 1, and Porter and the defense to that side were playing what's called 2 read. So Porter and the safety are reading 2. If 2 goes out, then Porter as the corner, the outside corner, he can jump it. He can take it right now, and the safety will take over the vertical by number 1. The announcers kind of misrepresented the coverage. I don't think they referred to it as a cover 2, but they kind of referred to it as a zone with help over the top. It's really a match coverage where they're reading the release of number 2, and the nickel safety who's rolled down there is helping out with any in-breaking or vertical route by 2. Porter jumped it, had it in his hands. Really should have been a pick. Just dropped it. It ended up being caught by Sheffield for Purdue. After bouncing out of Porter's hands. All right, Purdue really was focusing on Jones all game, but I didn't know who he was in the beginning of the game for real. I eventually did by the end of the game. Safety blitz, or corner blitz, on Purdue's first scoring drive, which was a field goal that put them up 3-0. Ran a corner blitz with Porter off the defense's left, Purdue's right side. And O'Connell picked it up quick. The safety took too flat of an angle to try to cover it up. I'm not sure which safety it was. Jones with a huge catch up the right sideline helped them eventually go up 3-0. All right, Penn State's third possession was one that I thought, the second possession, the run game got going a little bit. Allen was the featured back on that possession, the third one, but they had big chunk plays to Washington. And then there was a hold on Purdue that put Penn State kind of close. But there was 2 really big drives, one by Washington in the right flat, and then another one on a deep cross by Lambert Smith. That deep cross concept was there. I think Penn State ran it at least 4 times successfully during the game. They faced a 4th and 2 to start the second quarter, which would end or be nearing the end of their third possession. And a really cool play. They went heavy, 12 personnel, again, 4th and 2. So I think they had 6 O-linemen on the field and 2 tight ends to the right. And 44 Warren ran like a corner route. Running back Ford ran the cheat route into the right flat. So I thought the announcers covered it well. Easy completion for the first down. They did a nice job, I thought, getting the mesh concept for a touchdown to Tinsley on the 3rd and 5. I thought he looked explosive. I think he had 7 catches for like 85 yards, something like that. But 3rd and 5, they're in 11 personnel. And Tinsley wide open on that late cross. It was a easy touchdown. I don't know why they waited so long to call it a touchdown. 44, the tight end, was there to pick on the high side, forcing the defender to run underneath. Tinsley runs underneath of it as well. That's the concept. It's a rub concept. It's called mesh. Huge play. Penn State answered for a 7-0 lead. All right. Then Purdue comes back and answers to take a 10-7 lead, spurred by 2 penalties. One that was legit. They had a hold on Dixon, on the really big wide receiver for Purdue. And then the horseshit call on number 11, the linebacker. That was terrible. Purdue was, they were able to find some space in the passing game early second quarter. That targeting call was terrible. It was a 2nd and 10. It really changed the tone of the drive. Purdue should have been facing a 3rd and 10. Penn State, with a 7-3 lead. 3rd and 10. Instead, Purdue gets gifted a 15-yard penalty for a first down. Look, the kid was trying to hit with his shoulder. You can see it you can see that he's trying to hit with his shoulder. So, how do you call that targeting? He's clearly making an attempt to hit with his shoulder. Is there some contact with the helmet? Yeah, but it seemed like it was above his own right ear. So I thought it was a really horrible call. Purdue takes advantage of it. Ends up going down, taking a 10-7 lead. Penn State's 4th possession, inconsequential, really, except for and I'm going to note this and point it out, and you might disagree. The Penn State refs, realized that they screwed up. The very next possession after the targeting call, the refs on the first 3rd down, for Penn State there. It was a 3rd and 8. So the very next possession after the targeting leads to an ejection. 3 flags on Purdue on a 3rd and 8. I mean, is that not suspicious to you? I've never seen it before, and the announcer said something, and then someone in his earpiece must have been like, hey, man, don't you realize what was going on there? If you didn't, they're trying to make up for the targeting call because they realized that they screwed it up. And that's just my opinion. I thought they were trying to make up for it by giving Penn State, an additional first down on that, an easy first down on that 3rd and 8. All right, the 5th possession was a Singleton possession. He had a few short runs on that possession. But look, on some of these zone read concepts, Clifford's going to have to start keeping it. At some point, he's got to keep a few to keep people honest. I know he's reading the D end. I mean, I understand the concept. I wish I could show the plays and draw it up and show you. I will have film of Penn State at some point. If you join my Patreon, I will have film to show, but I'm not able to show it on YouTube for copyright reasons. Another thing I've noticed about the run game, whether Singleton is on or not, whether it's Allen or Lee, is, man, when Clifford audibles or changes the play, it's like 80% audibling to a run play. It was 3 for 3 on these early first 4 or 5 possessions. In any case, Penn State goes down, takes a 14-10 lead. Clifford scrambled for a first down on a 3rd and 6 to the right sideline. He outran a D tackle to the right side. Then he finds Brenton Strange, the tight end, on an over route, deep crosser route. Actually, not a deep crosser route. It's just an over concept from right to left to get another first down. Strange looked really good in the pass game. Looked really good run blocking as well. I thought he got tired at some point, maybe mid-3rd quarter, and he wasn't on for a lot of possessions. But I may have my timeline wrong there. There was a deep incomplete pass to, I believe, Washington. And then Purdue was called for an obvious late hit on Clifford. Then a really tough run by Singleton. He spins off a defender. And Clifford and Penn State end up lining up in the old school T formation, I think with 7 offensive linemen. And then, a tight end and 2 receivers in the backfield. QB sneak from 2 yards out, which is kind of weird. 14-10 lead. So Purdue, gets the ball, goes down, and appears to be possibly going to get a field goal, 14-13, or maybe even, get a touchdown and get a 17-14 lead at the half. They're moving the football. Facing a 3rd and 1 with 35 seconds left. And I thought the announcer, Joel Platt, I thought he really messed this up, the analysis up. It's a jet sweep call. Purdue's trying to be cute, and Penn State's in man. So the jet sweep guy who's getting the football, running right to left for the offense, Zakee Wheatley is following him. And I'll try to find video of it and put it on Twitter if you want to follow me on Twitter. Zakee Wheatley, unbelievable hustle to get in on the tackle, and I think forced the fumble with his right arm. And the announcer, Platt or Clatt, however you say his name, ends up, talking about the offense being out of sync with the formation. That doesn't have anything to do. It's a great play by Zakee Wheatley. I think they mentioned him like once. He's trailing across the formation. In my opinion, Purdue got cute in that situation, faking the quarterback sneak under center with no running back there, and then running the jet sweep. Missed opportunity. Great job by, Wheatley, and then just sick hustle, and then Porter recovering it to stay in bounds. The play was challenged, but it was obvious, I thought. Just a sick play by the defense. So you end up with Penn State's, I think, 6th offensive possession, 30 seconds left, and they go right downfield. Unbelievable. Clifford goes up top to Tinsley, who had his guy beat, and the announcer correctly identified that the ball was thrown a little behind Tinsley. I thought Tinsley looked dangerous, and we get a pass interference call to get to 15 yards. But that's a win for the defense because it could have been a 40-yard gain for real. Tinsley's open, had space. Nothing on the throw. The next play, he tries to target Tinsley again. Really, really couldn't get any momentum into the throw. And unfortunate because Tinsley was open again. And then the unbelievable play by Strange. Clifford makes a ridiculous play, up the right sideline to just get away from pressure. Strange is covered well initially. Pretty good coverage. And Clifford leaves the pocket to the right, actually points for Strange to go upfield, and he did. And Clifford found him easily over the top of the defender. I think it was 21 for Purdue. Strange breaks 2 tackles, runs another 40, 45 yards for a touchdown. It was just a statement. It was just like, hey, when we want to get in this hurry up mode where we're going to be throwing the ball a lot, this is what we can do to you. I thought the talent, the danger that Penn State presents with their number of players, Tinsley, Washington, Strange, all the running backs, just so many guys. They kind of come at you in waves, if you ask me. That's just my initial impression. Incredible play by Clifford and Strange, 21-10 at the half. There was a slow start for Penn State's offense, I think, on the first three possessions. But check this out. On 3 of the last 4, they had 27 plays for 205 yards. That was on the last 4 possessions. 3 of the last 4, excuse me. Clifford made a lot of plays at half. He's 8 of 15 for 141 yards, 2 touchdowns. Penn State has 228 total yards at the half, but they're only averaging 3.5 yards per carry on 23 attempts. At least they're committed to it. Singleton, 9 carries for 33 yards. Again, those numbers are at the half. Really not a good representation, if you ask me, of how he has ran, because they're oftentimes reading the D end, and I'm not saying that Clifford misreads it, but he's got to keep it sometimes, or they got to have some design runs for him to keep people honest. Penn State's defense making plays. Just making plays. So something happened in the third quarter. Purdue just starts shredding Penn State's defense. Jones, the receiver, the transfer from Iowa, I mean, he just lit him up with a series of catches. He had a first down on a drag from the backside of a trips formation. It looked like Porter was screened or cut off on the backside. So like kind of like a pick concept. And Jones ended up being really open. Then he finds space in a zone for like 27 yards on a deep end. Then he draws a defensive pass interference on Porter. I think it was Porter. It might have been someone else on a one-on-one fade in the corner of the end zone. Yeah, I believe it was Porter. Big play for Purdue on that drive was O'Donnell. It was a 3rd and 3, and they run a mesh concept. The inside linebacker for Penn State, 43, I forget his name, forgive me. He just has his eyes glued in the backfield too much. No awareness of the routes developing, no momentum to move and match Purdue's wide receiver number 13 running across left to right for the offense, right to left for the defense. Purdue gets the first down, and then they score the next play with a toss play to Drew, big back, who looks pretty good to me. I think there's some situations where he needs to get the ball more. 21-17 Purdue with 11 minutes left in the third quarter. And then we saw on that possession that Aller was warming up and got word that Clifford may not be coming back in. Who knew what it was about? They were mentioning his knee. Turns out, I guess it was cramps. I think James Franklin mentioned that in his post-game interview. So Aller's thrust into the game, and he makes 2 really nice throws on his only possession. He had the quick screen to Lambert Smith to the boundary to the left. Again, one of those times where there's like 3 guys. Actually, it was only 2. It was twins to the boundary, and we're just throwing it out there. I get it. And then he also extended a play and hit Tinsley on the right side for a nice completion. Tell me what you guys think of Tinsley. I feel like he's really dangerous. He's going to add a lot of versatility in the types of routes that he can run. He's in some ways he reminds me of Parker Washington, but because he can run routes on any depth of the defense, deep routes, intermediate routes, in-breaking routes to the sideline, short routes. But I almost kind of think Tinsley presents a little bit of a bigger catch radius target. Then the final throw for Aller before he didn't get back in was the incompletion to Warren, the tight end. It looked like a corner route by Warren, and the announcer identified it well. It was thrown over the trailing defender, really perfectly placed in Warren's hands, and just dropped with a safety closing, just dropped. Then there was the 3rd and 7. Aller throws behind Tinsley, who had a step on his man. I don't think that one was a really well-thrown ball, but certainly it looked like Aller could have scrambled for the first down with all that space in front of him. All right, then things get kind of crazy. I think it's 21-17 Purdue, if I have my score right. And Jones just goes off. I think it's Purdue's 8th possession, 9 plays, 75 yards, and they go off. And I think that some of the situations defensively here, that something changed coverage-wise. The announcers identified that Penn State doesn't flip their corners, but it seemed like to me they did some. And I'm not saying they were wrong. I couldn't track it because of all the information I was writing down. I'm going to try to post up pictures to my Twitter of the play charts that I keep, like 1st and 10, 12 personnel, slant, complete to Jones. I'm not showing it to you guys because it's not really organized here. But something changed. Something really changed. And then they did get a stop. Penn State defense did get a stop. Parker Washington had that amazing punt return that ended up getting called back. And then Clifford's back in the game. But they were so predictable in certain situations. I mean Penn State, that Purdue's defense was able to call like run stunts in certain. Like there was a 2nd and 5 where they blitzed an inside linebacker from the other side. So they blitzed him on the quote wrong side of where he lined up. So a gap he's not responsible for. They blitzed him through to just blow it up and destroy a possession. I felt like there were times in the third quarter where O'Connell and Purdue's offense looked like they had Penn State's number, for real. They had 3 drives in the third quarter, and I believe out of those 2 of those 3 drives, the numbers were this: 19 plays for 156 yards. So pretty good as far as yards per play. Jones was lighting them up in the third quarter. Penn State's defense, I even wrote down, they look like they're running out of fuel here. Then there was the 10-play drive by Purdue for 81 yards, including a huge conversion to the tight end over the middle, and then a 4th and 1 conversion where I really thought the Purdue coach put his team in a bad situation. The 3rd and 1 call was horrible by him. It was a play action to the left. They were trying to target the fullback in the flats to the left. Just like you have a quarterback who can make good decisions. You have a running back who's been running well, and you're involving the fullback in this 3rd and 1 play to pick up the first down. It seemed like, again, they were trying to be cute. I think Purdue has an issue with short yardage situations, and I know that they had some that they took advantage of tonight, but those were 2 that really stuck out to me, and there's one more that I'll mention later. Penn State's running game, one of the things I noticed, and I'll try to do a video on this with diagrams, is like they're intent on running to the side where there's only one receiver or a tight end. And there's a lot of times the numbers just are not there. So Penn State's defense somehow flipped the switch in the fourth quarter. I mean, just unbelievable. Excuse me. Purdue has the football. Penn State brings a 6-man pressure on first down on a really curious call by Purdue. Purdue's got the ball, first play of the series, and they go play action. And Penn State, counters with a 6-man rush. Well, they get a sack. Then there's a screen on second down, and Penn State's D-line is running upfield, and I just didn't notice a lot of pressure from the D-line. I'm not sure what, Penn State is rated in terms of their D-line, their edge players, but it just doesn't look like that's a source of, let me rephrase it, doesn't look like it's a relative strength compared to the DBs. It looks like the strength of this defense is in the DB depth, their ability to play man coverage, and the high effort and their tackling ability in a lot of situations. Any case, 2nd and long for Purdue after giving up a sack, and it's like everybody and their mother knows it's a screen. Everybody. It ends up being a pretty big play. Luckily for Penn State, Purdue's tight end got called for that illegal block, attempting to crack the inside linebacker. 3rd and 18. And Penn State's in physical press man coverage. I'm like, what's going on? And King, the little DB number 4, just tight coverage on Jones, making life really difficult for Jones. Gets a hands up and knocked the ball down. Awesome stuff. Penn State's 10th offensive possession, I believe. 10th offensive possession is really weird and unique. It's 4 plays, 55 yards, and it's all pass plays. It's all pass plays. Clifford goes up top to Washington on the first play, and when I say go up top, I mean like he goes up top. They got the ball around midfield. He goes up top, trying to score a touchdown, basically, and it's incomplete. Good coverage. I think there's a corner and a safety there. Then bunch right formation on 2nd and 10. With 11 personnel, so 1 running back, 1 tight end, and it's another mesh concept, and Tinsley makes that unreal catch over the middle. I thought that was clutch. There was a lot of clutch plays here in this game. I mentioned Wheatley's forced fumble on the 3rd and 1, where Purdue very easily could have gone down and scored to end the half. This one was incredible. 2nd and 10, mesh concept. Tinsley's running the high route over top of the 2, underneath drags, so he sits down there in the middle, right at the sticks, the yard to gain. Great catch, a contested catch, I believe, and then gains 3 or 4 yards afterwards. Get a first down. Penn State was switching personnel a lot from 11 to 12, but obviously they're not huddling. But they still got to give the defense a chance to sub because of the rules. So that's why I think the referee's standing there sometimes, Paul telling Clifford to wait before he can snap the football. But in any case, the next play, an unbelievable job by Clifford, an underrated play. Purdue brings a corner blitz from their right, from the boundary, from Penn State's offense's left. and Clifford gets the football, looks to the right, so his back is turned to that corner blitz. Somehow, man, he turns to the left, identifies it quickly, throws it out to the running back, Allen, in the boundary. It was like, bang, 9 yards. I didn't see Purdue blitz a DB again after that. It was almost like, well, we can handle this. Corner blitz, boom, we're going to hit you right back in that vacated space for 9 yards. Second play is an even better call than that one. Is a 2nd and 1. The very next play is a 2nd and 1. It's 12 personnel, and it's an RPO, if you ask me. And Clifford throws a strike to Lambert Smith. Just a strike. Clean catch by Lambert Smith. I know he had a drop earlier, but just a clean catch. Broke a tackle, burst into the end zone. Great answer. 4 plays, 55 yards. And Clifford was just, getting the ball to the playmakers. 28-21 lead, 10:44 left. Shows the depth of the roster, the number of guys that are making plays there. Like I said, you had Tinsley, then you had the completion to Allen to the boundary, and then Lambert Smith, who had a drop earlier, gets the big touchdown catch. Hardy, the safety for Penn State, made 2 really nice plays in the fourth quarter on defense. One of them was a tackle on a tunnel screen on the next possession, and then he drove on an underneath route by Jones on a 3rd and 6 to break it up. And whether Jones caught it or not, Hardy was going to make the tackle. He really looked good. A whole bunch of those guys did. I know they gave up, a lot of catches to Jones, and O'Connell completed a lot of passes. But that's kind of what Purdue's going to do against everybody. And as an aside here, another really perplexing play by Purdue. The first play of this drive, they get a 6-yard run. It's 2nd and 4, and they run a shovel pass and lose 4. There was multiple Penn State D linemen in the backfield. It just changed the dynamic of the series. It's like nobody on Purdue's staff is comfortable with like 2nd and 2, 3rd and 1, 2nd and 4. I know 2nd and 4 is not 2nd and short, but even going back to the third quarter, the possession when Jones capped it with a 7-yard touchdown from O'Connell in the back of the end zone. Earlier in that possession, like I said, that 3rd and 1 call was the play action to the fullback out in the flats. It falls incomplete. And then on 4th and 1, the players bailed the coaches out. I don't know who's calling plays, how many people are involved. Let me rephrase that. But their play calling is weird in those situations. That's just something I noticed about Purdue. So anyway, Hardy makes 2 great plays, including the pass breakup on 3rd and 6 on Jones. Penn State takes over, 9 minutes left in the game, up 28-24. And man, with the way the defense was playing the previous 2 possessions, it's like this game might be over if you go down here and get a score. You're up 28-24. You get a 12-yard run by Lee, who fought and broke a tackle and gained a first down, bouncing off tacklers, I should say. And very similar to Purdue's play calling. Penn State goes play action over the middle to Tinsley. Now granted, the previous possession where they scored to take the lead was 4 pass plays for 55 yards, so I understand it. But they were like really in a hurry to get off that next play after Lee's 12-yard run. I kind of question that play call. Unfortunate stuff that Clifford threw it high. He's got a linebacker in that window. The announcer showed the end zone angle, so there was a linebacker partially in the window, but that ball was really thrown high, really poor. I don't think Tinsley messed up anything with the route. And Jefferson, the D2 transfer, apparently, 72-yard touchdown return, 31-28. Just unfortunate stuff because, you get your biggest run of the game, 12 yards, with a lead, and your defense is balling. I thought you could see that, like, the defense was playing great there. Yeah, the passing game, like I said, was what generated the previous touchdown. So you can choose to throw the football and be aggressive, but that one was confusing to me. All right, Penn State gets the ball back, and there's a 3rd and 10. Clifford targets Lambert Smith, like maybe 4 minutes and 35 seconds left in the game. An obvious pass interference. There's no question. It's the type of play that's been called interference all game. And for whatever reason, not called. So Penn State's got to get rid of the football, and it looks like Purdue could close the thing out at that point because they're up 31-28. Huge play on that possession. 2nd and 7. Purdue, the quarterback scrambles out of pressure. Again, Penn State brought pressure. Sutherland came off the edge on a slot blitz, and someone else was there as well. O'Connell scrambled out of it to the right. Somehow found the tight end running left to right. Initially ruled a catch. Obviously, upon review was overruled. It looked like first of all, it was an awesome play by those guys. Great effort by King on that play. I don't know if you see it. He's diving almost kind of backwards at an angle. And it looked like to me he almost tipped the ball. I'm talking about like maybe 4 or 6 inches away from tipping it. Just a great play all the way around. Great call by the Penn State coaches to blitz, bring the pressure. Great job by O'Connell to get the ball out of there, for real. And then, great non-catch. And the refs got the call right. Looked like, to me, in order to get pressure tonight, Penn State had to blitz. It didn't seem like they were getting pressure, on their own. I didn't think so. So they get a stop, and then just eventually they get a stop. Amazing, if you ask me, game-winning drive with some really timely play calls, including the touchdown. I mean, it's man, and the outside linebacker plays it very poorly, and Lee, beats him on a kind of a wheel route, just getting to the sideline, up the sideline. So you're trying to get width there because that guy's got to turn his hips and run backwards. And he took a horrible angle. Great throw by Clifford. Big answer, considering that he had the interception earlier. But, clutch. 2 minutes and 22 seconds left in the game. Penn State gets the football. Short pass to Tinsley to the right side. And then there's like a mesh concept, and I think Clifford was 6 of 7 on the drive, and his only completion was a throwaway. It was mesh, and the wide receiver, I think Washington and Tinsley kind of sat down, and for whatever reason didn't continue running the routes. I think they read zone, so they wanted to sit. But in any case, 3rd and 2, huge play, 2:01 remaining, and Penn State runs that little screen out into the boundary to Lambert Smith. First down. Didn't look like he got out of bounds, though. So the clock ran, I believe. Handoff to Allen for 7 yards. And then the play of the game in a lot of ways. Big game. One-on-one by Tinsley. If Tinsley can do this, if he can line up backside and win one-on-one matchups, Lambert Smith can. To me, he looks like he can. 23-yard gain. Broke a tackle. Just a little stop route. 2nd and 3, little stop route. Breaks a tackle, 23-yard gain, maybe even bigger than that down the left side. Sets them up, 1:23 remaining, and they get a little short completion, 5-yard completion to Lee, to the wide side out of bounds, and then another amazing play. Just another guy who maybe hadn't contributed as much. There's just so many players that contributed to this win offensively and defensively. I'm sure that I'm missing a bunch of them. I haven't mentioned Parker Washington a ton. He only had like 2 or 3 catches, but so they had just ran the screen earlier to the right, to Lambert Smith, to get the first down, all right, on that 3rd and 1. So it's 2nd and 5, and they faked the screen to the right out of a similar formation. And then instead, Warren goes up the seam. And a great throw by Clifford, I think. Great catch by Warren because there's a huge hit on contact, and he pretty much just runs right through it, sets him up for the 1st and goal. And the catch by Lee, he's got the guy beat badly. That was a great call. Great call. It's man down there. Seems to be clear out routes, like I said. And the announcers did a good job there at the end talking about Clifford going, 6 of 7 on the drive and really doing a nice job of converting that 3rd and 1 and then punishing the defense when they brought pressure off the edge. Purdue gets the ball back with 57 seconds left. Kind of starts to move the ball a little bit. And then just a huge sack by Johnny Dixon. Huge sack. And again, there's just so many DBs who are making plays. I know, Jones ended up having a big catch on a 2nd and 20. They converted a 4th and 5 to move it down there, but they were running out of time. I didn't think they managed to clock well, they being Purdue in that situation. The announcers talked about it. I thought that some of their play calling in 2nd and short, 3rd and short was really questionable. I'm not sure how many people are involved in their play calls. Certainly don't want to take credit away from Penn State, but those are some of the things I noticed about Purdue. And I know that schedule-wise, they're kind of set up in a good situation. This is a fantastic win for Penn State, even though nationally, there's probably a lot of people who are like, Purdue should be an easy win. Actually, I had a friend of mine tell me that today. They were like, "What are you doing tonight?" I said, "Well, I'm watching Penn State Purdue and then doing a reaction video." I was really shocked at some of the things that Jones was able to do. Didn't know he was that talented. There was at least 2 other talented receivers on that roster that I think are going to give people problems. Is Jones going to go 12 catches for 153 a whole lot? No, but Rice is a good receiver. They certainly have a good tight end in number 87. Porter showed something that was really interesting on the next to last play. First of all, I'm interested in what you guys think of my reaction video if you're a Penn State fan and you're watching it, which I hope I get a lot of them. But 7 seconds left, and the announcers correctly identified that Purdue was going to try to, gain 8 or 10 or 12 yards to set themselves up for a final play. I don't know if you noticed it. Porter was sitting maybe 12, 14 yards off, maybe a little further, and he motioned to someone who lined up inside of him, another defender. He motioned to him, like, point it back, kind of. And he jumped the route and broke up that incompletion. I think Porter, did Jones beat him some? He did, but Porter showed the talent level that's there. And then finishing with a sack was just so appropriate because it seemed like Penn State wasn't getting a whole lot of pressure. I'm not sure what the perception is overall in terms of the positional hierarchy on defense. It seems to me there is a ton of talented DBs there, guys who play hard and guys who can contribute. I'm not sure what some of the issues might be for the run stuff because I kept expecting Purdue's run game to kind of bog down a little bit, and they did continue to move the ball some on the ground, but they went away from it quickly. It was almost like Penn State said, "We'll cede some of the ground to you in the run game, but we're going to overcompensate for the pass game." And in the long run, that worked out, even though in the third quarter things looked scary. That's my rundown. That's kind of how I do things in terms of a reaction video. I go through, I have my initial thought, which was the first 4 or 5 minutes about the defense, what they did in that late third quarter and the fourth quarter. Just lights out. Lights out. Only allowed 44 yards on the last 5 possessions. I think they deserve a whole lot of credit. I think the announcers missed the story there. Clifford deserves a lot of credit for that game-winning drive. Don't get me wrong. That would not happen if the defense didn't ball out like that on the last 5 possessions. So I'm quite sure that James Franklin and Manny Diaz and other guys are going to be talking about that as the week rolls on. Great win, road win in the Big Ten. I don't think you can overestimate how big that is, especially the way that it happened, all the adversity that they face. You guys let me know what you think of my commentary here. I will have a follow-up video in a couple of days when I'm able to use a Big Ten Network and watch the film a little bit and break some things down. I'm not going to be showing broadcast angle footage, though, for real. If you're interested, follow me on Twitter. You can ask me questions about the game. I certainly would like to interact with as many Penn State fans as possible. This is something I'm going to be doing after every Penn State game and trying to work up a mock preview at least once a week for each game as well. Appreciate you guys watching. If it's your first time watching the channel and you listen this long, first of all, thank you. And second of all, please consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoy my content.